Welcome to Grandma's Tales. Take a moment to settle deep into your bed. Imagine you are lying on a patch of soft green moss, deep in the heart of a quiet, magical forest. The air is cool and smells of pine needles and wildflowers. Tonight, we are going to follow the story of a little deer named Silas. This is a story about the beauty of the woods, the friendship between all living things, and the quiet wisdom of nature. There is nothing to fear here, only the gentle rustle of leaves and the soft light of the sun. Close your eyes. Breathe in the forest air. Let the journey begin. In the very heart of the forest, where the sunlight filters through the leaves like strings of liquid gold, a new life had begun. It was early morning, and the dew sat on the ferns like tiny glass beads. Deep within a hidden thicket of briars and soft ferns, a little fawn was born. His mother, a doe with soft, watchful eyes, licked him clean and nudged him gently. He was very small, with bright, curious eyes, and a coat of reddish-brown fur covered in tiny white spots that looked like fallen petals from a daisy. His mother whispered, her voice as soft as the summer wind. "Your name is Silas?" The forest seemed to acknowledge the news. A magpie fluttered down to a nearby branch. A squirrel paused in its search for acorns, and even the old oak tree seemed to lean in to greet the new prince of the woods. Silas tried to stand on his long, spindly legs. They were a bit wobbly at first, like a new blade of grass in the wind. He stumbled and fell back into the soft leaves, but he didn't mind. The floor of the woods was warm and smelled of rich earth. He tried again, and this time he stayed up. He looked around at his new world. He saw the green light of the forest canopy high above, and the colourful butterflies that danced between the foxgloves. Everything was a marvel. The sound of a distant brook was like a song meant just for him. His mother watched him with a proud, gentle smile. She knew that the forest would be his home, his teacher, and his protector. They sat together in the quiet shade, feeling the peace of the morning settle over them like a soft blanket. Silas closed his eyes for a moment, listening to the heartbeat of the woods. As the days went by, Silas grew stronger and more curious. He learned that the forest was filled with friends. One morning, as they walked through a sunlit clearing, he met a small rabbit with a twitching pink nose and big fluffy paws. This was Puck. Puck showed Silas how to hop over fallen logs and how to find the sweetest clover hidden under the leaves. "Everything in the forest has a name," Puck said with a happy wiggle of his ears. Silas learned the names of the birds, the different types of moss, and the way the wind sounded when it moved through the pine trees. It was a world of constant discovery. They spent the afternoon chasing shadows and watching the dragonflies zip over the pond. The water was so clear, Silas could see the pebbles at the bottom, glowing like hidden jewels. The forest felt very safe and vast. Mother taught him how to listen to the different sounds of the woods. She taught him that a rustle in the grass was often just a friendly hedgehog, and that the call of the blue jay was a way of saying hello. They walked along paths that were padded with years of soft pine needles, making their footsteps silent. The light in the forest changed throughout the day. In the morning, it was bright and yellow. In the afternoon, it turned into a deep, warm amber. And in the evening, it became a soft, dusty purple. Silas loved the golden hour most of all. It was the time when the forest felt most magical, when the glowing dust particles danced in the air and the flowers began to close their petals for the night. He felt a deep connection to every tree and every blade of grass. One day, his mother took him to a place he had never seen before, the great meadow. This was a wide, open space where the trees stepped back to let the sky reach all the way down to the ground. Silas stood at the edge of the trees, feeling the soft breeze on his face. The meadow was a sea of tall grass and wildflowers, red poppies, blue cornflowers, and yellow buttercups. It looked like a giant, colourful carpet spread out under the sun. His mother told him to be careful and quiet, but she also showed him the joy of the open space. He leaped into the air, his hooves barely touching the ground. He felt the sun warming his back and the cool grass tickling his belly. It was a feeling of pure freedom. He met other deer there too. He met a young doe named Silas, who had eyes as bright as stars and a laugh that sounded like a tinkling bell. They played tag in the tall grass, weaving between the stalks until they were both breathless and happy. While they played, the great prince of the forest appeared. He was a magnificent stag with antlers that looked like the branches of an ancient tree. He stood on a high rock, looking out over the meadow with great wisdom and calm. Everyone stopped and looked at him with respect. He didn't say a word, but his presence felt like a protective shield over the entire forest. Silas, he looked at him and felt a sense of awe. He realized that one day he too would be a guardian of this beautiful land. The prince looked down and gave a slow, knowing nod. It was a silent promise of strength and peace. As the sun began to set, casting long orange shadows across the meadow, Mother called him back to the safety of the trees. They walked home slowly, feeling the cool evening air on their skin. Silas was tired, but his heart was full of the wonders he had seen. He knew that the meadow was a place of meeting and joy, a heart at the center of the woods. The seasons in the forest began to change, like the turning of a great golden book. Autumn arrived, and the green leaves turned into shades of crimson, orange, and gold. The air became crisp and smelled of dry wood and wood smoke. Silas. He loved to walk through the fallen leaves, listening to the crunch, crunch sound they made under his hooves. It was a time of preparation. The squirrels were busy gathering nuts, and the birds were practicing their songs for their long flights. The forest felt cozy and settled. Then, one morning, Silas woke up to find the world had turned white. Snow! It lay on the branches like thick white frosting and covered the ground in a soft, cold blanket. Silas stepped out and was surprised to find his hooves sinking into the fluff. It was quiet, even quieter than usual. The snow muffled every sound, making the woods feel like a peaceful, sleeping giant. His mother showed him how to find food even in the winter. They found green bark on the trees and sweet grass hidden deep under the snow. It was a time of slowing down. They spent more time huddling together for warmth in their thicket, listening to the wind whistle through the bare branches. Silas felt very close to his mother during these long, quiet days. He learned that even when the world looks cold and still, life is just resting, waiting for the right moment to bloom again. He felt a deep patience growing inside him. One evening, they sat under a pine tree while the snowflakes drifted down like tiny feathers. Everything was silver and blue in the moonlight. "The winter is a time for dreaming," his mother said softly. And Silas did dream. He dreamed of the green leaves and the warm sun, knowing that they would always return. He felt safe, warm, and loved. Finally, the air began to soften. The snow melted into tiny, rushing streams that sang songs of joy as they ran over the stones. Small green shoots began to poke their heads through the dark earth. Spring had returned. The forest was waking up, and it was louder and more colourful than ever. The birds were building nests in the budding trees, and the flowers were opening their eyes to the sun. Silas was no longer a little fawn. He had grown taller and stronger. Small, velvet-covered bumps were appearing on his head, his first antlers. He felt a new energy in his legs. He spent his days exploring further and further, always returning to tell his mother about the new wonders he had found. He found a hidden waterfall where the water sparkled like liquid diamonds, and a cave where the walls were covered in soft, glowing moss. He met Celia again in the meadow. She had grown too, and her grace was even more beautiful than before. They walked together through the woods, sharing stories and quiet moments. They watched the sunset from the high ridge, seeing the whole forest spread out beneath them like a green sea. Silas realized that his role in the forest was changing. He was no longer just a listener. He was becoming a part of the forest's song. He felt a responsibility to protect the smaller creatures and to keep the peace of the woods. One evening, the great prince appeared to him again. This time, he spoke. "You have learned well," the prince said, his voice like the rustle of ancient leaves. You have a heart that understands the rhythm of the woods. You are ready. Silas felt a surge of quiet pride and gratitude. He looked at the forest, his home, and felt a deep, happy end in his soul. Everything was as it should be. Silas became a guardian of the forest. He lived a long and peaceful life, watching over the thickets and the meadows. He and Feline had their own fawns, and he taught them the same lessons his mother had taught him. He taught them to listen to the wind, to respect the smallest beetle, and to always look for the magic in the golden hour. The forest remained a place of sanctuary and beauty. No harm ever came to their hidden home, for the spirit of the woods protected those who lived in harmony with it. Silas would often stand on the high rock, just as the great prince had done, looking out over his kingdom with a heart full of love. He knew that the life of the woods would go on forever, a cycle of growth, rest, and rebirth. Silas learned that the greatest power in the world is the power of a peaceful heart. He learned that we are all connected, from the tallest oak to the smallest blade of grass. And now, my little one, it is time for you to rest your head. Imagine you are tucked into that soft thicket of ferns, with the smell of pine and the sound of a distant brook. The forest is watching over you. The stars are twinkling through the leaves. Your breath is slow and deep. Close your eyes. Dream of golden forests and gentle deer, and a world that is always kind. Sleep well, little one. Good night. Sleep in the peace of the woods. The end. For more audiobooks for preschoolers or 3-year-olds, stay on our channel. Good night. Sleep well. Good night.